This is Popping the Bubble with hosts Sandra Ponce de Leon and Pete A. Turner.
This is Kalika Shomvong, co-founder and CEO of Sugarlogix, and you're listening to Popping the Bubble.
Hey, Kalika.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks so much for joining us. It's really exciting to be here at IndieBio today. We are interviewing a number of entrepreneurs in the biotech sector, and the accelerator here at IndieBio would love to find out a little bit more just about you personally and how you came to found your own company called Sugarlogix.
Yeah, of course. Pleasure to be here. Thanks again.
Yeah.
So I started off, I'm originally from Thailand. I started off at Penn and I studied chemical engineering and also business. I had my concentration in marketing. I moved directly to UC Berkeley and I studied microbiology there. And this is my first startup right after my PhD.
Wow. So you just jumped right into an entrepreneurial endeavor.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do it for a really long time, and I think my PhD program really equipped me with a technology that I can use to start interesting business that also has really good impact for the society.
You are the second PhD in microbiology I've interviewed in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, great.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. I interviewed Dexter Holland from The Offspring. Are you familiar with who that is?
Apologies. But
no, he's the lead singer from a world-class punk band, like multi-million albums sold. But he's like, also in my spare time, I'm going to go tell you guys about microRNA and messenger RNA and how it contributes possibly to the spread and stabilization of the HIV virus.
Yeah, there's always really intriguing things in microbiology and biology overall.
So what did you figure out at Berkeley when you were doing it? I read your abstract, and it seemed like you were finding more efficient ways to release energy from biomass. Is that the basic layman's way to explain that? I mean, I don't want to use super fancy words, but like xylose and biolase. And
Yeah.
Wow, Pete, you're impressing me.
I just read it 20 minutes ago on BART.
So my PhD program was actually part of a bigger project. It was part of the Energy Bioscience Institute, or Energy Bioscience Institute. It was funded by British Petroleum back about 7 or 8 years ago, and they had sponsored UC Berkeley and University of Illinois to figure out bioenergy problem. And when I started, that's when we really got into the sugar metabolism and how to really best use a carbon source in cellulosic biomass. And that's actually also part of the core technology we have at Sugarlogix. It's repurposed from biotechnology, but for food instead.
And I don't want to ask you too much about that stuff because we want to ask you about Sugarlogix, but I'm always curious about when we extract energy out of biomass or whatever it's going to be. I mean, there's thermodynamic laws, and we've got to try to get around those things, and you can't. So how do you unlock more energy from those things at that microbiology level? Can you explain it all, what's going on, without getting too sciencey?
Yeah, I think the very basic concept is that you want to extract the carbon out of all these materials. And a part, or at least a part I was working on, is to make sure you can make use of the materials the best you can. So there are all the preferred carbon sources that the organism want to use, and you want to make sure they eat all type of food that exists in the plant biomass. And that's kind of where the technology came into play.
Wow.
Did you understand that?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. We're finding more efficient ways to use the carbon and then the other things as well. And that's there's more energy there. It hasn't all been unlocked. You're unlocking it in a way that allows for more of it to be consumed and less of it thrown away. Is what I'm kind of guessing, or not used properly.
Yeah, or faster.
Faster. Okay.
That's another key that we were looking into because, you know, in a way, plant biomass is really complex. So there are a bunch of type of sugars in it. So what we were doing back in the days was to try to make sure they can consume multiple types of sugar at the same time instead of just taking one and leaving the rest behind, or doing that after they get their favorite food source.
So as you're doing this, you've got your lab coat on. Are you thinking about what you're going to do? I mean, when do you cross over and think, this is great, all this stuff that I'm doing, funded by BP here at Berkeley is awesome, and I love my day job. But I think if I take this in this direction, that there's some money to be made. Is that when that happened?
No. I had my
Perfect.
mind set on starting a company a while ago. And even in college, I was kind of looking into what is it that I can bring that is unique and that is not what other people are doing. And that's partially why I came into the PhD program to begin with. I really want to know the science. I want to understand how it works. And from a bigger, broader perspective, I want to see how that can be applicable to other people. So from day one, really, with my PhD advisor, who's also a co-founder of Sugarlogix.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. He asked, what is it that you want to do after the PhD program? And he's a great mentor. He's always been, and it kind of went from there.
That's amazing. And so tell us about the journey from graduating, getting your PhD, and knowing you had this idea to coming here to IndieBio and getting into the program here.
So I met the IndieBio team about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I came here for a pitch night, and I met the team. The team was really nice, really inspiring people, and I know they could really help me move forward. The company actually started off as a previous name was Zimitech. Zimi means yeast in Greek, so we use yeast fermentation to make our product, and that's where the company's name came from, or at least the original company name. And we actually started off by a government grant, the National Science Foundation Small Business SBIR Phase 1 program. We got that last year. Company has been starting since then. And we saw the opportunity with the IndieBio because we know that we can go much faster with working among other companies and with team with multiple years of experience in starting business.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Great. Well, yeah. So tell us about Sugarlogix. What is it that you guys are looking to do?
Yeah. So we are making sugars that are not now, but in the future, worth getting addicted to. So this is a very new concept for most people because when you talk about sugars, that's usually something bad, right? You want to stay away from it. But the sugar we're working on actually have functional health benefits. So are you familiar with the probiotics or the gut microbiome?
Yeah,
health?
Absolutely. Like what's in kombucha.
Yeah, exactly. Those are delicious.
I know, I love it.
So actually 70% of your immune system resides in your gut, which is why the gut health is so important for you. But the probiotics are only half of the system. So probiotics are the good bacteria that can, once you consume them, it can go all the way to your gut and stay there and do their job, right? But just like us, all the probiotics also need food. And that's where prebiotics comes in. So what we do is we make sugars that feed directly to the probiotics, so our body can't digest them, but those are meant directly for the good microbes in our gut.
So keeping those microbes around and alive longer.
Yeah, essentially, and also enhancing their population. There are clinical study that has shown that just by consuming the prebiotic sugar, you can increase the abundance of the good type of bacteria in your body, which this bacteria do so many things that are good for your health, increase your immune system, decrease inflammation, prevent you from having diarrhea, and I can go on and on.
But that's how I lose weight. So when you take the prebiotic in, the body won't digest that sugar, and so it goes in. How do the rest of this process is waste if you're building up a probiotic portfolio, whatever you would call it? Is that what happens, or what happens to the excess sugar that you bring in if it's not processed by your body?
It doesn't get processed by your body, but it gets processed by the microbes living in your gut. So it doesn't go to waste. Actually, it's a very well-used sugar. So it feeds the good bacteria in your body, and thus you can increase their abundance so they can be happier, doing their job better. There's also correlation of people who have more of this good gut microbes with being healthier and happier overall. And I guess another point that I really like to point out is where our prebiotics come from. And these prebiotics are actually found in nature, and it's the one that we're working on is actually the very first human specific prebiotics, and it actually comes from human breast milk. So the way we look at it is we look, okay, like we know the microbiome system has two parts into it, probiotics and prebiotics, but where does it come from, right? We know that probiotics, first, you get it as a baby from your mothers, but that's just half of the system, right? So we look into human breast milk composition, and guess what? The third most abundant component is actually the human milk oligosaccharides, which is this long chain complex sugar prebiotics. So that's where we borrow it from.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. So how do you manufacture that at scale? Do you actually have to get breast milk to do it?
Nope. So we use yeast fermentation. And this goes back to kind of my previous background in sugar metabolism and sugar synthesis. So we genetically engineer the yeast so that it's capable of turning simple sugar like lactose or even cellulosic material, actually, using a special yeast, and it turns that into the prebiotic sugars.
Interesting. So are we going to see candy now with prebiotic sugars in it? And is this going to just change and disrupt the whole sugar industry as we know it?
We first see ourselves entering more of a functional beverage market. We have that in our pipeline for next year. Currently, we're focusing on making sure our prototype works well, people like it, and the production side.
The prototype being what form does it come in?
Bottles.
Okay, so it's a liquid, a drink.
Exactly.
Okay.
So right now, the supply of the special prebiotic sugar is still limited, right? So that kind of relies on our core technology that will feed directly into a consumer product.
And would you piggyback on someone else's thing, like Coke now provide, with prebiotic sugar or something like that? Or will it be your own distinct product, do you think?
It would be our own distinct product, although we welcome partnership. But currently we really focusing on launching our own consumer product. And in a way, that's kind of two birds in one stone for us. Because in order to make that quantity of prebiotic sugar, we need to operate at a larger scale. And we need to do that anyways if we like to scale up the just biological scale up processes 10x at the time. And that way we show that it works at important scale and making certain amount of the prebiotic sugar, and that we can use that for a direct consumer beverage.
So is there an approval process? Do you have to work with the FDA to get all of this through to consumer usage?
Nothing specifically, fortunately, and that's because the compound actually has been previously approved as generally recognized as safe compound before. So we're lucky on that side. So what we're looking into is just that we have to operate it at FDA approved food grade facility, and a drinks or a beverage is made in industrial kitchen or with co-packers.
Interesting. So what are the potential risks that you see in the business right now?
Scale up is also something that we're keeping an eye on. It's definitely one of the de-risking moment for us once we move from shake flask into a fermenter. Right now we're at a fermenter scale, and we're looking into scaling up to 100 liters scale in 2 months. And after that, that's where all the bigger scale comes in. So that's one of the biggest risks that we have to face. But fortunately, yeast has also been used for centuries for baking, brewing. It's basically the same process as brewery, like making your beer. Simple sugar, yeast, and then you get your product. So in terms of scale, it's one of the bigger challenges, but there are also many precedents. That has been done before.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
How do you stand out in a marketplace where there's so many things that I'm taking my 1 teaspoon of apple vinegar today and all those things. I mean, there's so many and very expensive drinks too, like $8 for a kombucha, tea. It's like, gosh, how do you stand out in that market? That's a big hurdle. What are you guys going to do about that, do you think?
So the way we look at our product is that it's a first human-specific prebiotic for your body. And as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing out there like that in the market right now. There's so many probiotic solutions, which I think in a way is helpful for us because it's another side of the story. And hopefully we can find a good partnership there. And I think just the nature of the product is very unique for us and where it comes from, where we got inspired from. And it actually tastes really good. I can give you guys a taste.
Ooh, I'd love to try it. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the ideas that we wanted to satisfy your taste buds as well as feeding your gut. So it's not just healthy, but it's also pleasant to drink. Mm-hmm. And that's all, to be honest with you, all my sweet tooths. As a shy, I love sugary things. And it's not just that I want something sweet, but I also want it, and also not just guilt-free, but also provide positive health effect for myself.
Mm-hmm. So you've been taking this now consecutively, how long?
You know, it's so expensive right now. And we haven't really had it ourselves, but the clinical study has been out there, and that has been done in 100 people.
Okay.
And that's where all my numbers came from, really.
And what are they experiencing? What are they saying about it after being on it for a while?
The more quantitative things that they say it about, or more the microbiomes that they measure. So the good gut bacteria, particularly the bifidobacteria, it was reported in that clinical study that it increased by 1,000 times. So that's huge. My co-founder and I, Shayan, we're really looking forward to making some of our prebiotic sugars in lab. We're definitely going to try some.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to think of how to craft this question. Okay, so you have prebiotic sugars that are going to go into this thing. Is there a caloric value to the thing that I'm consuming? I mean, if I'm diabetic and I'm trying to cover for this amount of sugar, but I'm not processing it, what am I doing with that?
That's perfect because it actually has very low glycemic index. So in a way, this is something that people with diabetes should not even be concerned about. I know it's called sugars, but it's very different from table sugar. Completely separate story. The similarity is that it still tastes semi-sweet, which is good for you. Everybody likes something a little sweet, but it doesn't affect your glycemic index or sugar in your blood, or it really does go all the way to your gut.
Can you have too much of it? Like if I just binge eat it?
Yes, and that's why anything in excess is bad for you, right? So there's a recommended amount that we would like to put out, and that's kind of where we're seeing our product as a package. You guys familiar with the cleanse set? Like it comes in a set. There are 5 of them, and you're drinking one every day kind of product. So with that, then we can provide them. We're giving you 5 bottles. You drink one every day, and each bottle has perfect amount of the prebiotic sugar in it.
Mm-hmm. And are those benefits that would be realized in? Would I notice in a week, a month?
2 weeks according to the clinical trial.
And taking it every day. Okay.
What are some of the qualitative things you guys have learned in your focus group? What have you found out?
Tasty, refreshing, and that it would be perfect after the workout. And that they would buy this at the store, which is always great to hear.
Interesting. Very cool. So what are your passions outside of sugar, or is sugar just your one and only passion?
I am a food enthusiast.
Okay.
So I really like food.
So this makes sense then.
This makes sense. I actually try making a lot of sugar-related dessert, creme brulee. I learned how to make macaron recently. Not so successfully yet, but I'm working on it. Ceramics is also something I just picked up recently. It really helped easing things down, and in a way I really like building things, and that does resonate with me.
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And being creative.
Yeah, always fun.
Very cool. And so do you imagine that this is eventually going to be something that you could use in some of those baking and, we have these prebiotic sugar packets that will have the same impact as sugar, but better for you?
That would be in a much longer run. It's possible, but the way we think of it is not just any other sugars in the market. It's more of a premium product. In a way. It really helps your health, but I also would not want people to just use it to replace any kind of sugar. I think that would be dangerous. Like what I mentioned before, anything in excess would not be great for you.
Right. What are some of the challenges that you've faced along the way, or hurdles that you've had to overcome?
I would say one of the biggest challenges is how fast things change. We've pivoted a lot, and in a way, it's difficult to change so much so quickly. But I also find that very fun. So we get to, really see how things work out. People say it all the time, like, make a prototype, and if you're going to fail, make sure you fail fast so you can move on to something else.
What were some of the original pivots?
We actually originally worked on another type of sugar, which is a low-calorie sweetener. That's more of a mainstream, like what you mentioned before. It's going to go more in a broader market. And the original idea is to make it from Greek yogurt waste. So Greek yogurt byproduct. For every cup of Greek yogurt you see in the store, there are actually 3 times the volume of that is the byproduct called acid whey. And in that way, there are the sugars that we can use to make higher value product. Now, there are a lot of players involved in that market, so which is why it's very similar core technology, but we're just using it for a different compound.
Cool. And so you guys are going to be in market in a year?
Less than a year.
Less than
That's
a year.
Plan, yeah.
And what's the name of the product going to be, or do you have a...
Currently, we're sticking with Sugarlogix.
So Sugarlogix. Okay, so it'll be like Sugarlogix drinks, prebiotic drinks. You'll be able to find them on the counter of the grocery store.
Online first.
Online, okay. Very cool.
Where are you going to have your distillery?
For our 100 liters scale, that it's just going to be across the bay. There's a facility that we can use to work on scaling up. For the 1,000 liter, we're looking into leasing a facility, which maybe I'll tell you in the future, but we have a contractor lined up. And that's also a food grade facility, which is great for us because we can not only test that it works, but also use a product we make.
And what's the reason for going online versus looking at some of the other traditional distribution channels?
That's because it's very new as a product. It's a first human-specific prebiotic. Most people still don't know what prebiotic is. We really like to stay close to our consumers when we start and get as much feedback as we can. So the consumer product we plan to launch next year is really from operating a bigger facility for only about a month. So we have a much bigger capacity to make it. We just really want to understand what our consumers are looking for, and kind of going forward, stay as close as we can with them at the beginning, and learn from them.
How does one provide for their prebiotic needs right now? I mean, is it my corn that I'm eating? Where am I getting that stuff from that feeds my good stuff?
Yeah,
probiotics.
They do exist in nature, like fiber. I think the other prebiotics are in L categories are fructooligosaccharides, or FOS in short, and galactooligosaccharides, or GOS. These guys are not as good as what we're trying to make, and that's because they get broken down partially before it gets all the way to your gut. So it actually releases some sugar out along the way, not really fully feeding your gut microbiome as much as our sugar can.
Tell us about your funding. Do you have VC funding?
Yeah, so we started off with a non-dilutive grant from the National Science Foundation.
That's right, yeah.
And that was actually last year. And with the IndieBio program, they also sponsor us in terms of funding. And we're looking to raise additional funding in the next 4 or 5 months, and that's to help us do the next scale up facility and to launch our consumer product.
That's great. And I love the fact that you are interested in staying so close to the consumer initially, because that's going to give you great feedback and great input into your go-to-market and marketing.
Yeah, that's a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Is there some kind of application where this is sent to the developing world and helps to increase health? I mean, it's so hard to be balanced in nutrients out there anyhow. What's your guys' philanthropic approach to those kind of things?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's very intuitive that since this is from human breast milk, or originally inspired from human breast milk, the compounds we're making, it could really help bridge the gap between the infant formula and human breast milk. So when breastfeeding is not an option, adding this prebiotic sugar and feed them to infants could really help them. Like what I mentioned before with their immune system, brain growth, and fight off some of the diarrhea. In the developing world right now, I believe the figure is that there are over 800,000 children who at risk because they're not being breastfed, and kind of just adding out prebiotic sugars in, I think we can provide a very unique proposition, and that's very doable for us, especially when we're at scale looking to provide it as more of an ingredient rather than consumer product. So that's definitely something we have on our radar.
That's amazing. I would imagine that, coming from Thailand as well, that's probably shaped a lot of the inspiration behind this product for you. Can you talk about some of the other things that, coming from Thailand is how it impacts you differently, maybe the way you see things as an entrepreneur?
Thailand is perfect example as a land of food. So food is never, you go when you're in Bangkok, you can find food any time of the day, and there's such a huge discrepancy there as well. So we've seen it before, like kids who suffer from malnutrition, and I think one of the really unique thing about our sugar is that if you think about children who have malnutrition, feeding them more food doesn't always help, and I think that's surprising to most people. Sometimes you actually have to go all the way back to the guts and fix that from bottom up. Make sure your gut microbiomes are well fed, and only after that happens and feeding them more food would help them. So that's another aspect that we believe our sugars are really unique.
Yeah. Anything else that maybe we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think I talked plenty, and hopefully keep an eye out for our products next year. We're really excited about it.
Yeah, I think I've been into the probiotics lately just because I'll buy anything that's got good packaging and tells me it's good for it. So I definitely would be a consumer of Sugarlogix. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I love what you guys are trying to do here, and I think stuff like this is, if there's just this one facet, there's so many things where we can eat better and provide for ourselves better. So thank you for putting the work into doing this. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. It was great speaking with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And learning so much.